Good evening. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Lorena Rodriguez. I'm captain at Sheriff's Information Bureau. Today, Sheriff Luna will provide an update on the Monterey Park mass shooting. Now it's my honor to present the Sheriff of Los Angeles County, Robert Luna.
Thank you, Lorena. I want to thank all of you for coming out. I know it's a little late, but I appreciate all of you being here. So I want to make sure everybody knows, again, our homicide investigators continue to work on this case. There's still some things we don't know, and I can't wait to stand up here at a time when I can tell you, hey, we know everything from A to Z. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but that is absolutely the goal. But I thought it was important to update you on some information we've received really in the last several hours and wanted to put it together and bring it before you. So as I have previously reported, there were a total of 3 firearms that we recovered. We recovered one firearm from the scene at Alhambra. That's well documented about where the young man took the gun away from the suspect. When the suspect committed suicide, he shot himself. That was a second firearm, and the third firearm was recovered. It was a rifle that was recovered from his home in Hemet when we served a search warrant. And one of the things that I don't have to point it out, I mean, all of you are looking at the weapons. So here in the first picture to my left is the weapon that we believe to be the murder weapon. This is the weapon that was recovered in Alhambra that the suspect used to kill the 11 victims and shoot the other 9. The second photograph reflects the handgun that the suspect committed suicide with. And the third picture up there is the rifle that was recovered from the search warrant that we served on that day. So I'm going to give you some specifics about the weapons. So that first weapon here is identified as a Cobray, that's C-O-B-R-A-Y, model CM11-9, also known as a MAC-10. The weapon was not registered in the state of California. It was purchased by the suspect on February 9th of 1999 in the city of Monterey Park. And again, that's the first one here to my left. The weapon number 2 that he committed suicide with is identified as a Norinco 7.62 times 25 millimeter pistol, and that handgun is registered to the suspect. Number 3, the rifle is identified as a Savage Arms .308 caliber bolt action rifle that was also registered to the suspect. The other item that I wanted to report to all of our community was that earlier today, Monterey Park police officers recovered a motorcycle in the 200 block of South Garfield Avenue in the city of Monterey Park. That motorcycle was registered to our suspect. It was located 1 block south of the crime scene. Homicide investigators determined that the motorcycle was parked there sometime on Saturday, just prior to the mass murder. Investigators believe it was placed there by the suspect as an alternative getaway vehicle. As of today, based on the interviews the investigators are still conducting, they have not been able to establish a connection between the suspect and any of the victims thus far. The suspect was not married. We've gotten information from different places that, asking us if one of the victims was his wife. And not only have we found that he wasn't married, but we have not been able to tie him in romantically to any of the victims so far. Will that change down the road? You got to understand, when we get up here, it's to present you with facts and not just rumors, and information still may change. According to witness accounts of witnesses that we've interviewed thus far, we do not believe the suspect has frequented the dance studio in the last 5 years. We've also been hearing a lot of information that he was recently there. Based on the statements we have, he hasn't been there in 5 years. And again, maybe we'll get more information where that will change. And I want to stress something, that if people believe they have information that can help us with a motive in this case, please make sure you contact investigators of our Homicide Bureau at 323-890-5500. A lot of rumors out there, a lot of people sharing stories. But again, we will only put out information that we have verified through facts and evidence, and tying the information to somebody specific. So with that, let me open it up to any questions that any of you have. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about what have you left behind any notes? Did you find anything of why he might have targeted both ballrooms, even if he hasn't frequented at least one of them in the last 5 years?
So when we served the search warrant on his house in Hemet, and obviously the search warrant on his van, we've recovered a lot of items. We talked about electronics being recovered. We've also talked about there's a whole list of items, paperwork that we're going through. Investigators, as they go through that, we're looking at everything, every which way but loose. And again, with the goal of trying to find a motive, and hopefully we can. Sometimes it's frustrating when something like this happens. It's so tragic because we're trying to understand it, and it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
So right now it looks like he picked these two places almost at random?
We don't know the answer to that. We hope to find out, but we just don't know yet. Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff Luna, was there anything of significance found in his motorcycle or on the motorcycle? One, and then two, is there any indication that his ex-wife was a Star Dance regular? And if he hadn't been there the past 5 years, is there any indication that he had been a dancer or a frequent, customer there prior to 5 years?
The information we have is just that he hasn't been there in 5 years. In regards to the ex-wife, we don't have that information factually, or we have been able to verify that. We're hearing some of those things, but this is why I'm asking for people to come forward so we can attach a name to information, and we can follow up just to make sure that we're verifying anything that's coming through. And in regards to the motorcycle, the question about anything that we found on the motorcycle, we're going to have to get back to you on that. It was recovered, and I'm not sure at this point what else we recovered other than the motorcycle that was confirmed to be registered to the suspect.
Sheriff, have we got any information regarding the weapons you've seized here about their legality, when they were purchased, anything along those lines?
Yes, let me repeat the information I gave earlier on that. So the question is, did we, in regards to where the weapons, if they were registered, the legality, in regards to the first weapon here, the Cobra model, that weapon was not registered in the state of California. but it shows that it was purchased by the suspect on February 9th in the city of Monterey Park. The second weapon that you see up here that he used to kill himself, the Norinco, was registered to the suspect, and the .308 rifle that you see on my far left to your far right was registered to the suspect.
Did he have any prior firearms or weapons violations that might have disqualified him from purchasing any weapons?
The information we have that the suspect was arrested back in 1990 for unlawful possession of a firearm. That was the only thing that we found in his criminal history.
Nothing in the way of a conviction or anything else?
Not to my knowledge.
You say that weapon was purchased in, what, the M10 was purchased where?
It was purchased in Monterey Park
Private party?
by the suspect.
Private party or lead registered dealer?
I don't have that information.
Now, that weapon has been illegal in California since 1992. So, you know, no dealer would be able to sell that unless it was a registered weapon under the state of California. So how did this guy get it? Do we know?
I do not know the answer to that, but that's something else we're looking at.
ATF has tracked that down, though?
ATF is assisting us just as the FBI is, and they're helping us with that information, assisting us to get that information. Yes, ma'am.
We understand that he went to Hemet Police, I believe, early last month, with some type of grievance or something he wanted them to possibly look into. Do you know anything about that? Are you able to elaborate on that situation and how that possibly plays into a vendetta or something here?
That's something else we're looking at. We don't have the specific information. It's part of everything that we're looking at. But that information has come to us through the Hemet Police Department, and it'll be part of what we're looking at to try and put together, again, the motive as to why he did this.
Details on the motorcycle that was found? What kind? Just details?
From what my understanding is, details on that motorcycle, it was a street bike. And it was parked about a block away from the shooting scene, the massacre scene in the city of Monterey Park.
But he still had enough time, so he never so far in your investigation, does it look like he went back to the vehicle, to the motorcycle at all, or he went straight to his vehicle? He never used it, it was just there just in case as kind of a getaway? Is that what?
Based on what we know now, it appears to us that he was using the van to get from one place to another. And obviously we find it very interesting that he put that motorcycle sometime Saturday within a block of the location where he committed the mass murder. Why? We're assuming it was an additional getaway vehicle if he needed it. Why else would he put it there?
Two more questions.
Based on victim interviews, do you have any better sense of what happened in the room when he entered the room, whether he said anything that night?
Not yet. But we want to know. Again, we're as curious as you are.
Is there anything people have shared as you've interviewed witnesses, just about what transpired in those minutes?
We have interviewed witnesses, but I don't have that information here in front of me to share with you at this point. We will be doing that in the future. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Sheriff. What was his country of origin? Does he have any military training either in the U.S. or there? Is there any indication of whether he stood in sort of in one spot in the room and fired a spray, or went up individually? And we've talked a lot about in other shootings, execution style. Did that happen here? And is there an indication of how long he was planning this attack?
In regards to how long he was planning it, again, we don't know at this time. We intend to find out with any evidence that we receive. Military training, I'm not aware of any at this point. But again, those are some of the things that we're looking at. I believe we have some video from inside, and at this point, obviously, we're not going to share that. That's gruesome. But again, I'm just going to go back to, that's just part of the whole picture of what we're looking at.
So my question is, did he go up to people individually, or sort of stand in a corner and spray the room, or was he Goshen and in Half Moon Bay, they talked about execution-style shootings. Is that something that happened here? And where is he from originally?
In regards to where he's from, I believe he's originally from China. I believe, but I need to confirm that. And in regards to the positioning, you want to address that if we can?
Yes, sir. As far as the positioning in the room, he did like a spraying motion with the firearm.
And he, so it's,
And he's of Vietnamese descent, and he lived in China, in Hong Kong.
and when did he come here with
He's been in the country, I believe for 7 or 8 years, and I don't know if during that time frame he's been back and forth. I don't know the details as far as that, but I know he's been in the Monterey Park area for quite some time.
And was there any evidence of military training wherever he's lived?
Not that I'm aware of.
Or any particular firearms? There were only, we asked this because you guys mentioned previously there were only 42 bullets, which for 21 victims, it seems like not a lot with what you see at other mass shootings.
Yeah, that's true, but it kind of depends on where the people are at within that room, how they're crowded together, where each one of them are located. They could have been in all in an area where there was a lot of people, and so any bullets that went in that area would have struck more people than if just one person was standing.
Captain, do we tap on where he was and what he did with that weapon?
I'm sorry?
With what he did with that weapon? This is a semi-automatic weapon? Or did he modify it so it could do full auto fire?
We don't know that. That the weapon is being tested by our crime lab.
You got 3 positions on the selector, or you got 2 dimes and a nickel behind the trigger to slip the sear. Was it full auto or not?
Pete, I get your question, and that's why the ATF is assisting us to put out that information. So,
Magazine was how many rounds, do we know?
30-round magazine was found at the scene.
So you swap mags.
Yes. And back to the statement, only 42 bullets. I think 42 rounds is excessive anywhere. You're shooting 42 rounds, we have 42 casings. You saw the carnage or the damage that he did. So,
Speaking of the victims, is there any new update on the people who were injured, who were in the hospital? Because there was still a significant number of people being treated. Any update on how some of those individuals are doing tonight?
I do not have that.
Sheriff,
I do not have that.
clarification. So he used that weapon with like a spraying motion. Was he standing in the front entrance when that happened, or was he on the dance floor?
If you could answer that, if you could. If you can't, you can't.
No, I'm sorry. I can't answer that question.
Okay.
How many people were in the room at the time, total? How many people were in the room at the time, total?
Do we know the answer to that?
No, not the exact number.
Okay, that'll be the last question. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Spellings of the guns, or is it
Sí.
something you can share with us in writing? Could you repeat the spellings of the gun names, or is that something I can take a picture of?
Yeah, I can do that really quick. And then if we can do the Spanish one off to the side at the end for you. Thank you. In regards to the first weapon that you see here, it's a Cobray, C-O-B-R-A-Y, model CM11-9. That's what we refer to as a Mac 10. The second handgun is a Norinco, N-O-R-I-N-C-O, 7.62 times 25 millimeter pistol. And then the third bolt action rifle to my far left is a Savage, S-A-V-A-G-E, arms, .308 caliber. Okay. Thank you guys.